The massive spaceship Unity slowly approached the shimmering planet Valaria. Commander Ji-hoon pressed his face against the viewing window, watching the crystal cities grow larger below. His heart raced with excitement and nervousness. This was it, humanity's first official meeting with an alien civilization. "Remember the protocol briefings," said Mina, the team's language expert, adjusting her translator device. She had spent months learning basic Valari phrases. No sudden movements, no direct eye contact for more than 3 seconds, and absolutely no personal comments. Do-hyun, their engineer, was busy checking his equipment. "Their technology readings are off the charts," he whispered. "These crystal structures are generating power in ways we can't even understand yet." As their shuttle landed on a platform made of what looked like solid light, Ji-hoon felt the weight of representing all of humanity. Earth's leaders had chosen him carefully. He was calm under pressure, spoke multiple languages, and had a reputation for finding common ground with difficult people. But nothing had prepared him for this moment. The Valari delegation waited in a perfect line. They were tall, graceful beings, with skin that seemed to be made of living pearl. It shifted from silver to pale blue as they moved, creating patterns that flowed like water. Their leader stood in the center, clearly different from the others. Queen Seraphina was breathtaking, not just because she was alien, but because there was something about her presence that commanded attention. Her skin glowed with soft colors that seemed to respond to her emotions. Her movements were fluid, almost like dancing, and her eyes held an intelligence that felt ancient and kind at the same time. The formal ceremony began exactly as they had practiced. Ji-hoon stepped forward with his team, following the careful steps they had memorized. He was supposed to bow slightly, state his name and purpose, and wait for the Queen's response. But when Queen Seraphina looked at him directly, something unexpected happened. Instead of the brief, formal acknowledgement he had planned, Ji-hoon found himself staring. Her beauty was unlike anything he had ever seen, not just pretty, but genuinely magnificent in a way that made his breath catch. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice carrying more warmth than protocol allowed. "I have to say you are absolutely beautiful." The entire Valari court froze. Mina's face went pale, and Do-hyun nearly dropped his equipment. The silence stretched uncomfortably as dozens of alien eyes stared at the human who had just broken every rule of proper first contact. Queen Seraphina's skin shifted through several colors: surprise, curiosity, and something that might have been amusement. Her advisors began whispering urgently in their musical language, clearly upset by this breach of etiquette. But the Queen raised one elegant hand, and the whispers stopped immediately. She studied Ji-hoon with those deep, intelligent eyes, tilting her head slightly as if trying to solve a puzzle. "Interesting," she said, her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "In all my years of receiving diplomatic missions from across the galaxy, no one has ever said such a thing during formal introductions." Ji-hoon felt his cheeks burning with embarrassment, but he couldn't bring himself to apologize. He had meant every word, and somehow, lying about it now, felt like it would be worse than the original mistake. "I'm sorry if I offended you, Your Majesty," he said honestly, "but I'm not sorry for meaning it." Queen Seraphina's skin shimmered with what he was beginning to recognize as amusement. How very human. The next morning, Ji-hoon was surprised to receive a personal invitation to meet Queen Seraphina in her private gardens. The crystal trees around them hummed softly, creating music that seemed to respond to their conversation. Unlike the formal throne room, this place felt peaceful and intimate. "I have been thinking about yesterday," Queen Seraphina said, settling gracefully on a bench that looked like it was carved from a single enormous gem. "Your words were unexpected." Ji-hoon sat across from her, still amazed by how her skin caught the light. "I probably shouldn't have said that during a formal ceremony. My team hasn't stopped reminding me about it." "But you meant it," she said, studying his face carefully. "This puzzles me. Why would a human find beauty in a form so different from your own species?" Before Ji-hoon could answer, a sharp voice interrupted them. "Your Majesty, I must advise caution." A tall Velari with deep purple markings approached them. This was Kyra, the Queen's chief advisor, and her disapproval was clear in every step. "Kira, please join us," Queen Seraphina said calmly. "Humans are dangerous, Your Majesty," Kira said, her skin flashing warning colors of red and orange. "They are unpredictable, emotional creatures. They wage wars on their own planet. How can we trust their intentions here?" Jihoon felt a flash of anger but forced himself to stay calm. "You're not wrong about the wars," he admitted. "Humans do fight sometimes, but we also create art, music, and poetry. We love deeply, we protect those we care about, and yes, we appreciate beauty wherever we find it." Queen Seraphina leaned forward, clearly interested. "Explain this appreciation of beauty." "Well," Jihoon thought for a moment, "when I look at your crystal cities, I see the same kind of beauty I see in a mountain range on Earth, or in the way sunlight hits the ocean. It's not about whether something looks human or not. It's about harmony, grace, the way things fit together perfectly." "And you see this harmony in me?" the Queen asked softly. "I see strength that doesn't need to prove itself," Jihoon said honestly. "I see wisdom in your eyes, kindness in how you treat your people, and yes, physical beauty that takes my breath away. These things don't change just because you're not human." Kira's skin flashed brighter with alarm. "Your Majesty, this is exactly what I mean. Humans are too emotional, too quick to form attachments. This could be a manipulation tactic." But Queen Seraphina was quiet for a long moment, her colors shifting through thoughtful patterns of blue and silver. "I have ruled for many cycles," she finally said. "I have met ambassadors from dozens of species. They show respect, fear, or calculated interest, but none have ever expressed genuine appreciation without asking for something in return. "Not asking for anything," Jihoon said simply. "I'm just being honest." The Queen made a decision. "Kira, please summon Hyejin. I want her to work closely with our human guests, to study their customs and way of thinking. If we are to build a relationship with Earth, we must understand what makes humans so different." Kira looked unhappy, but bowed. "As you wish, Your Majesty." After Kira left, Queen Seraphina turned back to Jihoon. "I find myself curious about human emotions. Your species seems to experience feelings more intensely than most others we have encountered." "Maybe that's true," Jihoon said. "We feel things deeply, love, anger, joy, sadness. Sometimes it gets us in trouble, but it also drives us to do incredible things." "Show me," the Queen said, her eyes bright with interest. "I want to understand what makes humans so passionate about life." Jihoon smiled, realizing this was the beginning of something much more important than a simple diplomatic mission. Over the following weeks, Jihoon and Queen Seraphina met every afternoon in the Crystal Gardens. What started as formal, cultural exchanges slowly became something deeper, real conversations between two curious minds from different worlds. "Tell me about Earth's oceans," Queen Seraphina said one day, her skin shimmering with soft blue patterns that reminded Jihoon of waves. "Your descriptions make them sound alive." Jihoon closed his eyes, remembering. "The ocean changes every second. Sometimes it's calm and mirrors the sky perfectly. Other times it's wild and powerful, with waves as tall as buildings. But it's always moving, always different. We have a saying, you can never step in the same river twice. On Valaria, our crystal seas are beautiful but unchanging," the Queen said thoughtfully. "Perhaps that is why your world produces such adaptable people." Meanwhile, Sunho had been watching these daily meetings with growing interest. As the team's communications officer, he had sharp eyes for details others might miss. During their evening briefings, he finally spoke up. "Commander, I've noticed something interesting," Sunho said carefully. "The Queen's skin colors change around you differently than with other people." Jihoon looked up from his reports. "What do you mean?" "When she talks to her advisors, her colors stay in cool tones, blues, purples, silver. But when you arrive each day, her skin immediately shifts to warmer colors. Gold, soft pink, even some green patterns I've never seen her display before." "You're reading too much into it," Jihoon said, but his heart skipped a beat. "She's just being friendly." "Maybe," Sunho said with a knowing smile, "but Hyejin told me those warm colors usually indicate happiness and excitement in Valari culture." Across the compound, Rena was having her own revelations. The human engineer had been given unprecedented Access to Valari technology and what she discovered amazed her daily. Their entire civilization is built on harmony, she explained to the team over dinner. Every building, every tool, every system works together perfectly. But you know what's strange? They've never had a single innovation in the past 1,000 years. What do you mean? Do-Hyun asked. They perfected everything so long ago that they stopped experimenting. They stopped asking, what if? Their technology is incredible, but it's completely static. They've forgotten how to improve or create something new. This same observation was troubling Queen Seraphina. During her conversations with Ji-hoon, she learned how humans constantly questioned, changed, and improved their world. It made her look at her own society with new eyes. Your people rebuild your cities every few generations, she said to Ji-hoon during one of their walks. You change your governments, your laws, even your art styles. Why do you never settle on one perfect way? Because we don't think there is one perfect way, Ji-hoon replied. We believe there's always room to grow, to learn something new, to become better than we were yesterday. But this creates conflict, disagreement, chaos. Sometimes, Ji-hoon admitted. But it also creates music, poetry, scientific discoveries, and solutions to problems we didn't even know we had. The chaos is worth it because it leads to growth. Seraphina stopped walking, her skin cycling through colors Ji-hoon had never seen before, deep, complex patterns that seemed to show internal struggle. For 3,000 years, my people have followed the same traditions, the same social order, the same way of thinking, she said quietly. We call it perfection. But watching you, listening to your stories, I wonder if we have achieved perfection, or if we have simply stopped living. Ji-hoon reached out, almost touching her hand before remembering protocol. Maybe perfect isn't the goal, maybe the goal is to keep becoming. The queen looked at him with those ancient, intelligent eyes, and for the first time she began to question everything she had been taught about leadership, tradition, and what it truly meant to guide a people toward a better future. The emergency council meeting on the space station orbiting Valaria was tense from the moment it began. Representatives from 12 different alien species sat around the circular chamber, but all eyes were on the imposing figure of General Vex, whose reptilian features showed clear disgust. This human integration is happening too quickly, General, Vex declared, his voice echoing through the chamber. They have been in contact with the Velari for mere weeks, yet already they influence their society. This is dangerous precedent. Ji-won, the diplomatic representative from the peaceful Alterian species, stood to respond. Her translucent skin glowed softly as she spoke. General Vex, you speak of danger where I see opportunity. The humans have brought fresh perspectives that could benefit all our civilizations. Fresh perspectives? General Vex laughed harshly. They are primitives who still wage war on their own planet. They have no place among advanced civilizations. Neither did we once, Ji-won replied calmly. Every species in this council was once young and learning. The humans show remarkable adaptability and genuine desire for peaceful cooperation. Back on Valaria, Queen Seraphina was feeling the pressure of these political tensions personally. During her private meeting with her council, the stress was obvious in the rapid color shifts across her skin. Your Majesty, the Galactic Council is demanding answers, Kira reported, her own colors showing anxiety. They want to know why you are spending so much personal time with the human commander. I am learning about their culture, Queen Seraphina said, trying to keep her voice steady. This is important for our future relations. The Council sees it differently, another advisor said carefully. They believe you are becoming too emotionally involved. Queen Seraphina's skin flashed, with anger before she controlled herself. My emotions are my own concern, not when they affect galactic politics, Your Majesty, Kira said gently. General Vex is already spreading rumors that humans are using some kind of emotional manipulation on you. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon was having his own difficult conversation. Tae-hyun, Earth's senior diplomatic officer, had arrived on an emergency transport with urgent news. The situation is getting complicated, Ji-hoon, Tae-hyun said as they walked through the human quarters. We're receiving reports that several species are considering economic sanctions against any civilization that forms close ties with humanity. That's ridiculous, Jihoon said. We haven't done anything wrong. It's not about right or wrong, it's about fear and politics, Taehyun explained. Some species see humans as a threat to the existing order. We're too different, too unpredictable for their comfort. What does Earth want me to do? Taehyun stopped walking and looked directly at Jihoon. Be very careful about your relationship with Queen Seraphina. Intelligence reports suggest that your friendship with her is being used as evidence that humans are dangerous. Our friendship? Come on, Jihoon, everyone can see how you two look at each other. The Queen's own people are talking about it. General Vex is using it as proof that humans form inappropriate emotional attachments that cloud judgment. Jihoon felt frustrated and trapped. So I'm supposed to stop being honest, stop treating her like a person worth knowing. I'm saying the future of human-galactic relations might depend on how you handle this situation, Taehyun said seriously. If the Council decides we're too dangerous to join galactic civilization, Earth could be isolated forever. That evening, Jihoon met Queen Seraphina in the gardens as usual, but both of them seemed distant and troubled. You have heard about the council meeting, Queen Seraphina said. It wasn't a question. Some of it, Jihoon admitted. They think I'm a bad influence on you, and my advisors think you are manipulating me emotionally. Her skin showed patterns of sadness and frustration. Perhaps we should reduce our meetings, for the good of both our peoples. Jihoon felt something break inside his chest. Is that what you want? Queen Seraphina was quiet for a long moment. What I want and what I should do as a leader may be different things. That's the most human thing you've ever said, Jihoon replied softly. They stood in silence, both understanding that their growing connection was becoming a political problem neither of them knew how to solve. Despite the political pressure, Jihoon's impact on Valari society continued to grow in unexpected ways. In the markets and gathering places of the Crystal City, young Valari were beginning to ask questions that had never been asked before. Nari, a young artist who had spent her life creating the same traditional crystal sculptures her family had, made for generations, approached Jihoon during one of his walks through the city. Commander Jihoon, she said, her skin showing nervous purple patterns. I have been thinking about what you said about human art always changing and growing. What about it? Jihoon asked, genuinely interested. I created something new, she said, pulling out a small crystal sculpture that looked nothing like traditional Valari art. Instead of the perfect geometric shapes he was used to seeing, this piece had flowing organic curves that seemed to capture movement and emotion. Nari, this is incredible, Jihoon said, examining the sculpture carefully. It feels alive. My family is not pleased, she admitted. They say I am abandoning our traditions, but creating it made me feel happy in a way I never experienced before. Word of Nari's experimental art spread quickly. Soon, other young Valari began experimenting with new forms of expression. Hannah, a musician, started incorporating improvisation into her performances, instead of playing only the ancient prescribed melodies. Music should express what we feel in the moment, Hannah explained to her shocked instructors. Commander Jihoon told me that human musicians create new songs to match their emotions. Why should we only play the same songs our ancestors played? The most surprising supporter of these changes came from an unexpected source, Princess Yuna, Queen Seraphina's younger sister. Unlike the Queen, who had to balance personal feelings with political responsibility, Yuna felt free to speak her mind. These humans have shown us that there are other ways to live, Yuna declared during a public gathering. For too long we have been told that our way is the only correct way, but looking at human creativity and growth, I wonder what we might have missed by never questioning, never changing. Her words electrified the younger generation of Valari. For the first time in centuries, public debates broke out about tradition versus progress, individual expression versus social harmony. But not everyone was pleased with these developments. In the shadows of the Crystal Temple, Elder Thane gathered, with other traditionalist leaders, their skin colors flashing angry reds and deep purples. This contamination must be stopped, Elder Thane said, his ancient voice filled with disgust. For 3,000 years our society has been perfect, peaceful, unchanging. Now these emotional humans come, and in mere weeks, our young people abandon everything sacred. "What do you propose, Elder?" asked one of his followers. "The humans must be removed," Thane said coldly. "Their influence is like a disease spreading through our people, making them question what should never be questioned." But Queen Seraphina has granted them diplomatic protection. Elder Thane's skin showed calculating patterns of dark blue and silver. The Queen herself has been infected by their emotional poison. She spends her days with their commander, abandoning her duties to our traditions. If she cannot protect our way of life, then perhaps she is no longer fit to lead, the other elders gasped. Challenging a queen's authority was almost unheard of in Valari society. "You speak of revolution," one whispered. "I speak of preservation," Elder Thane corrected. "The humans have brought chaos disguised as progress. They make our people believe that individual desires matter more than social order. This is how civilizations fall." Meanwhile, Jihoon was unaware of the growing opposition to his presence. He was too busy being amazed by the creativity he saw emerging in young Valari artists, musicians, and thinkers. "Your people are incredible," he told Queen Seraphina during one of their evening meetings. "They've just been waiting for permission to be themselves." "That is what troubles my advisors," she replied, her skin showing conflicted patterns. "They fear that individual expression will lead to social breakdown." "Has it, though?" Jihoon asked. "I see young people who are happier, more creative, more engaged with life. How is that dangerous?" Queen Seraphina looked out over her city, where new forms of art and music could be seen and heard in places that had been the same for centuries. "Perhaps," she said quietly, "the danger is not in change itself, but in those who fear it." The Festival of Crystal Harmony was Valaria's most important celebration, held once every cycle when their twin suns aligned perfectly. The entire city sparkled with extra brightness as citizens gathered in the Grand Plaza to witness traditional ceremonies that hadn't changed in 1,000 years. This year was different, though. Young Valari artists like Nari had been given permission to display their new experimental works alongside the ancient sculptures. Musicians like Hana performed both traditional melodies and their own creative compositions. The festival had become a celebration of both old and new. Queen Seraphina stood on the royal platform, wearing ceremonial robes that caught the light beautifully. Jihoon was positioned nearby with his team, honored guests watching the magnificent spectacle. Despite the political tensions, this moment felt peaceful and hopeful. "Your people really know how to celebrate," Jihoon said to the Queen during a quiet moment between ceremonies. "This festival represents everything we value," she replied, her skin glowing with warm gold patterns. "Harmony, beauty, tradition, and now, thanks to your influence, growth and change as well." What they didn't know was that Elder Thane had been in secret communication with General Vex for weeks. The military leader had provided Thane with weapons and a team of assassins from his own species, all disguised as festival performers. "The humans must be eliminated during the ceremony," General Vex had instructed via encrypted message. "Make it look like a terrorist attack by unknown enemies. This will prove that humans bring danger wherever they go." Elder Thane had agreed, convinced that removing human influence was worth any price. The Queen will see that her emotional attachment to these aliens has made her weak and vulnerable. As the main ceremony reached its peak, with Queen Seraphina preparing to light the great crystal that would signal the festival's climax, the attack began. Jihoon noticed them first, figures moving through the crowd with purpose that didn't match the celebratory atmosphere. His military training kicked in immediately. "Something's wrong," he whispered urgently to Sunho and the other team members. "Those aren't festival performers." Before anyone could react, energy weapons started firing from multiple positions in the crowd. Screams filled the air as panicked Valari tried to flee. The shots seemed aimed directly at the royal platform. "Get down!" Jihoon shouted, throwing himself toward Queen Seraphina, just as a blast of energy seared through the air where she had been standing. The shot hit him instead, burning through his shoulder and sending him crashing to the crystal floor. "Jihoon!" Queen Seraphina screamed, her skin flashing through every color at once as she dropped beside him. More shots rang out, but Princess Yuna and the royal guards had formed a protective barrier around them. While chaos erupted in the plaza, Minju and Wonho from the human team were already working. Minju, their intelligence analyst, had been monitoring communications and noticed unusual encrypted signals before the attack. This was planned, she told Wonho as they took cover behind a crystal pillar. I'm picking up coordination signals between the attackers and someone inside the Valari government. Wonho, their security specialist, was tracking the attackers' movements. They're not trying to escape. This is a suicide mission designed to look like outside terrorists. Back on the platform, Queen Seraphina was trying to stop Jihoon's bleeding with her own ceremonial robes. The energy blast had badly burned his shoulder and chest, and he was losing consciousness. "Stay with me," she whispered, her skin now showing colors of deep fear and anguish. "Please don't leave me." "Had to. Protect you," Jihoon managed to say, his hand finding hers. "Couldn't let them hurt you." In that moment, with danger all around, them and his life possibly slipping away, all the political concerns and cultural barriers that had kept them apart seemed meaningless. "I love you," Queen Seraphina said, the words coming out in both her language and his. "I should have said it before. I love you, Jihoon." "Love you too," he whispered back, squeezing her hand weakly. Meanwhile, Minju had cracked the encrypted communications. "I've got them," she announced over the team's communication system. "The signal is coming from Elder Thane's residence. This whole attack was coordinated by Valari traditionalists working with General Vex." As the royal guards finally subdued the last of the attackers, the truth began to emerge. The conspiracy to eliminate human influence had nearly cost Jihoon his life, but it had also revealed something else, that love could cross any boundary, even between species. When two hearts recognized something genuine in each other, the medical bay in the royal palace was unlike anything on earth. Jihoon lay on a bed made of smooth crystal that somehow perfectly supported his injured body, while gentle healing energy flowed through it. The Valari doctors had worked for hours to repair the damage from the energy blast, and while he would recover, the healing process would take weeks. Queen Seraphina barely left his side. She had abandoned her royal duties, ignoring the protests of her advisors, to personally oversee his care. Her skin remained in constant patterns of worry and affection, soft blues mixed with warm golds that the medical staff had never seen. Before on their queen, "You shouldn't be here so much," Jihoon said weakly during one of his conscious moments. "Your people need you." "My people are safe because you protected me," she replied, gently adjusting the crystal healing apparatus around his shoulder. "The conspiracy has been exposed. Elder Thane and his followers are in custody. Right now, you are my priority." As the days passed and Jihoon grew stronger, their conversations became deeper and more personal. The near-death experience had shattered the careful diplomatic distance they had maintained. "I need to ask you something," Queen Seraphina said one evening when they were alone. "That first day when you said I was beautiful, and all the time since then when you've looked at me that way, what do you really see?" Jihoon studied her face, noting how her skin showed nervous patterns of silver and pale blue. "You want the complete truth?" "I need it," she said. "Because I've been told by my advisors that humans are easily fooled by appearances, that you cannot see past the surface to understand what truly matters." Jihoon shifted carefully, his healing shoulder still tender. "The first thing I noticed was your physical beauty, yes, but that lasted maybe 5 minutes. What captured me was watching you lead. You listen to people, really listen. You consider different viewpoints even when they challenge your own beliefs. Continue," she said softly, her colors shifting to deeper, more complex patterns. "You're strong without being cruel. You have power, but you don't abuse it. When you learned about human creativity and freedom, you didn't dismiss it as inferior or dangerous. You asked questions. You adapted, you grew." He reached out with his uninjured hand to gently touch hers. "You're beautiful because you're brave enough to change, wise enough to lead, and kind enough to care about a stranger from another world." Queen. Seraphina's skin bloomed with colors he had never seen before. deep purples mixed with gold and silver, creating patterns that seemed to tell a story of joy and wonder. "I love you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, not as a queen speaking to a diplomat, but as Seraphina speaking to Ji-hoon. "I love your honesty, your passion for life, your willingness to protect others, even at great cost to yourself." "I love you too," Ji-hoon replied, bringing her hand to his lips. More than I thought possible. Their moment was interrupted by a soft knock on the door. So-young, the team's cultural advisor, entered with a concerned expression. "I'm sorry to disturb you," she said, "but we have a problem. The Galactic Council has called an emergency session. General Vex is claiming that the attack proves humans are a destabilizing influence. He's demanding that Earth be banned from galactic civilization entirely." Queen Seraphina's skin flashed with anger. "That's absurd. The attack was orchestrated by our own people working with him." "Logic doesn't matter in politics," So-young said grimly. "Several species are supporting the ban. They're scared that what happened here could happen in their societies too." "What can we do?" Ji-hoon asked, trying to sit up despite his injuries. "The council will listen to Queen Seraphina's testimony," So-young explained. "But if she speaks too passionately in defense of humans, especially you, it could backfire. They might claim she's been emotionally compromised." Queen Seraphina stood, her posture straightening into royal bearing. "Then we must be very careful about how we handle this. Our love has already caused enough political trouble." "No," Ji-hoon said firmly. "Our love isn't the problem. Fear and prejudice are the problems. We just need to be smart about how we fight them." So-young nodded approvingly. "I have some ideas about that. But it's going to require both of you to trust each other completely, even when separated by politics and protocol." As the three of them began planning their strategy, none of them noticed the small listening device that had been secretly placed in the medical bay, transmitting their every word to those who would use their love as a weapon against them. The emergency alarms across both Earth and Valaria began sounding at exactly the same moment, despite the systems being light years apart. General Vex had coordinated his attack perfectly. Massive fleets appeared simultaneously in both star systems, catching everyone by surprise. On Earth, Admiral Junho was in the middle of a routine staff meeting when the alerts flooded in. "Sir, we have multiple hostile ships dropping out of hyperspace around Earth," his communications officer reported, panic clear in her voice. "At least 50 vessels, unknown configuration." "Battle stations," Admiral Junho ordered, his years of military experience taking over. "Get me a direct line to the Valari homeworld. If they're attacking us, they're probably attacking our allies too." His instincts were right. On Valaria, Queen Seraphina was rushing from Ji-hoon's medical bay to the command center as similar reports poured in. "Your Majesty, enemy ships are forming attack positions around our planet," her military advisor reported. "They're demanding our immediate surrender and the expulsion of all humans from our territory." "Never," Queen Seraphina said, her skin flashing with determination. "Activate all defensive systems and get me a communication link to Earth immediately." Ji-hoon, despite his injuries, insisted on joining the command center. "I'm not staying in bed while both our worlds are under attack," he told the medical staff, ignoring their protests as he carefully put on his uniform. When the communication link between Earth and Valaria was established, the tactical situation became clear. General Vex had united several xenophobic species in a coordinated assault, designed to destroy the human-Valari alliance before it could inspire other civilizations to join together. "Admiral Junho," Queen Seraphina said over the interstellar, "communication link, we need to coordinate our defenses. Separately, we might not survive this attack." "Agreed, Your Majesty," Admiral Junho replied. "But our technologies are completely different. How do we work together when our weapons and ships work on entirely different principles?" Ji-hoon stepped forward, his tactical mind already working on the problem. "We combine our strengths. Human ships are faster and more maneuverable. Valari ships have more powerful energy shields and weapons. What if we use human tactics with Valari technology?" "Explain," both the Admiral and Queen said simultaneously. "Human military doctrine emphasizes flexibility and unpredictable movement," Ji-hoon said, pulling up tactical displays. "We hit hard, move fast, and never stay in one place long enough for the enemy to target us effectively. But we've always been limited by our energy output. Queen Seraphina's eyes lit up with understanding. And our ships have incredible energy reserves, but we've always fought in predictable formations, because that's how we were taught. Exactly. If we can link our fleets and share targeting data, human ships can guide Velari ships to optimal attack positions while Velari ships provide the heavy firepower. The plan was brilliant in theory, but executing it required something that had never been attempted: real-time coordination between two completely different technologies and military cultures. That's where Yerin and Jamin came in. Yerin, a communications specialist from the human team, had been working with Jamin, a young Velari technician, to create translation protocols between human and Velari computer systems. We've been working on this for weeks, Yerin explained as enemy ships began their first attack runs. The human and Velari communication systems can now share data in real time. Can it handle military coordination? Jihoon asked. Only one way to find out, Jamin replied, his skin showing nervous but determined colors. As the battle began, something remarkable happened. Human fighters, guided by Velari targeting systems, began striking with unprecedented accuracy. Velari heavy cruisers, following human tactical patterns, moved in ways that confused and disrupted enemy formations. It's working, Admiral Junho reported, amazement in his voice. Our combined effectiveness is triple what either fleet could achieve alone. But General Vex had anticipated some resistance. His fleet began adapting, using overwhelming numbers to compensate for the tactical disadvantage. They're learning our patterns, Queen Seraphina observed, watching the tactical display with growing concern. We need something they can't adapt to. Jihoon looked at the battle data, his mind racing. What if we don't just coordinate our attacks but actually integrate our ships? Human crews on Velari ships, Velari crews on human ships. That's impossible, several military advisors said simultaneously. The technologies are incompatible. No, Jihoon said with growing excitement. The technologies are different, but the principles are the same. Both species understand courage, sacrifice, and protecting what matters. Those things don't need translation. As the battle raged around both worlds, humanity and the Velari were about to discover that when two civilizations truly trusted each other, they could accomplish things neither could imagine alone. The integrated defense strategy worked better than anyone had dared to hope. Human pilots flying Velari ships found that the crystal technology responded to their emotions and intentions in ways their own machines never had. Meanwhile, Velari crew members aboard human vessels discovered the joy of improvisation and quick thinking that human military doctrine encouraged. Within hours, General Vex's overwhelming numerical advantage began to crumble. His ships, designed to fight predictable opponents using standard tactics, couldn't adapt fast enough to the creative combination of human flexibility and Velari power. "Sir, we're losing ships faster than projected," one of General Vex's officers reported. "The humans and Velari are fighting as if they were a single species." "Impossible," General Vex snarled. "Different species cannot truly unite. There must be some trick, some deception." But there was no trick, only the simple truth that when beings choose to trust each other completely, they become stronger than the sum of their parts. The turning point came when Jihoon, despite his injuries, joined a mixed crew aboard a Velari flagship. His tactical experience combined with the ship's crystal-based weapons systems created devastating attacks that the enemy couldn't counter. "This is how we should have always fought," Queen Seraphina said, watching the battle displays from her command center. "Not as separate species trying to coexist, but as partners working toward the same goals." After 12 hours of intense combat, General Vex's coalition began to retreat. Many of his allied species, seeing the effectiveness of human-Velari cooperation, started questioning whether their fears about integration were justified. "General, perhaps we should reconsider," one of his allies suggested. "If two species can work together this effectively in war, imagine what they might accomplish in peace." But General Vex refused to admit defeat. "This alliance is unnatural. It will collapse under its own contradictions." He was wrong. In the months following the battle, the human-Velari partnership only grew stronger. The crisis had proven that different species could not only coexist, but actually enhance each other's capabilities. The formal ceremony took place 1 year later on a neutral space station, with representatives from dozens of species in attendance. Councillor Sujin, a respected diplomat who had worked tirelessly to build support for the new alliance, stood before the assembled delegates. "Today marks a new chapter in galactic history," Councillor Sujin announced. "The Galactic Cooperation Treaty represents our commitment to judge species not by their differences, but by their willingness to contribute to the common good." At the heart of the ceremony was the wedding of Ji-hoon and Queen Seraphina. Their union had become a powerful symbol of what was possible when beings chose love and understanding over fear and prejudice. "When I first met this human," Queen Seraphina said during the ceremony, her skin glowing with every color of joy and love, "he saw beauty where others saw difference. Today, our alliance proves that diversity is not a weakness to be managed, but a strength to be celebrated." Ji-hoon, standing beside her in a uniform that combined human and Valari design elements, added, "Love doesn't recognize species barriers. Neither should civilization." In the audience, 2 young people watched with bright eyes and excited expressions. Dion, a human linguistics student, had spent the past year living on Valaria, learning their language and culture. Beside her sat Seungmin, a young Valari artist whose work now incorporated human concepts of change and growth. "I want to be an ambassador someday," Dion whispered to her friend, "to help other species understand each other the way humans and Valari do now. And I want to create art that shows how beautiful differences can be when they come together," Seungmin replied, his skin showing patterns of inspiration and hope. They represented something entirely new in galactic history, a generation that would grow up seeing interspecies cooperation as normal, natural and beneficial. As the ceremony concluded and the Galactic Cooperation Treaty was officially signed, Ji-hoon and Seraphina looked out at the assembled delegates from dozens of worlds. Some had come as skeptics, but many were now eager to explore what their own species might accomplish through genuine partnership with others. "Do you think this will really work?" Seraphina asked quietly. "Can we really build a galaxy where all species work together?" Ji-hoon squeezed her hand, watching as human and Valari children played together in the station's gardens, their laughter echoing through the halls. "Look around us. It's already working." The stars had always been vast and distant, but love and understanding had made them feel like home.